Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Firstly, thank you to those who were subscribed. Thank you for the nice kind comments. That's always much appreciated. As promised in one of my earlier videos, and as the name implies, aperture to zoom, I'm going to be sort of unpacking in its entirety aperture to zoom. Mainly while using the Panasonic Lumix G9, which I've done quite a few videos on. I've had a couple of requests because I did a video around the exposure triangle, but actually a couple of people have asked me to make individual videos on each component, aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. So I thought I might as well start because we've got to cover everything, like I said, from aperture to zoom, and I haven't really done one on aperture per se. So now we all know that aperture means opening, and the aperture is controlled via the f-stop settings on the camera. So depending on what lens you're using, the opening could go as wide as f1.4. I believe there's even bigger ones now. So that's the smaller the number. It's a little bit confusing. I know the smaller the number, the bigger the opening, the bigger the number, the smaller the opening. So we know that aperture in its simplest form is the opening and closing of this opening to allow light to come through. And then shutter speed determines the time that that shutter is open. But this particular video, we're going to talk about aperture. Now, aperture, yes, that's the practical function of aperture. And we can sort of understand that reasonably easily. However, there is a creative component to aperture too that we can use to create a certain effect. So if you look at the screen here at the moment, currently I've got my monopod set up in the foreground, got a tripod in the background, and then the kitchen and dining area is sort of there. And as you can see, the monopod is pretty much in focus, right? And then the tripod's blurry and the background more so. So what aperture allows us to do is when we start closing down that aperture, I know it sounds weird, more things come into focus. You'd think it would be the reverse. But as you close down the aperture, it brings more things into focus. As you open up aperture, it reduces and brings less things into focus. Case in point here with a monopod, the current aperture setting is f1.7, and as you can see, the monopod's in focus. Like I said, the tripod is not, and the background is completely blurry. So as you watch now, forgive me if I do move the camera because I'm going to be changing the aperture setting on the camera, but you'll see it move on the screen there if you just keep your eye on this one over here. But more importantly, look at the effect that's happening on the screen. So there we go, 2.2, 2.5, 2.8, 3.2, and we'll just keep going. Because I'm using the Lumix Tether app, there's a bit of a flicker. I don't worry too much about that. And then as you can see, getting to f22, which is at its smallest, everything is in focus. Now, because I'm on auto ISO, there is going to be a little bit of noise. I've got my shutter speed is only 60. If I drop that down a little bit, it does change makes it a bit lighter. So I hope that sort of makes sense. I'll bring it back up to 60 again, and then we'll bring that aperture back down again just to really bring home the point of how you can use aperture to your advantage, creating a particular effect. So I'll try and do some examples when I'm out and about, taking some actual photos of certain things and then showcase those. But it's like everything in life, the more you practice, the more you get to know your lenses, and you'll get to understand this um, correlation between aperture and depth of field. That's what is the important part here. It is how aperture interacts and relates to depth of field. And all depth of field is what or how much in the focal range is in focus. You understand? And crystal sort of clear. So that sort of summarizes it. I hope this video captures it clearly enough. So guys, as promised in my previous videos, as the name implies, also aperture to zoom. We're going to be covering and unpacking in its entirety everything from aperture to zoom. And when it comes to these channels, it's all about content. Apologies to those who are more seasoned and understand these concepts already, but there are people out there that are learning, and that's who my target audience is. I'm still learning in the process, and I make no apologies for that, because we all got to start somewhere. I'm enjoying this journey because I'm getting to learn loads. I'm getting to learn about YouTube. I'm getting to learn about my camera, and it's opening up some avenues that can potentially end up who knows where. So guys, if you do get any value out of these videos, you enjoy it, please comment, drop us a like, share the video if you so choose, subscribe, and like I said, there's going to be a lot of content coming up that I'm going to be showcasing here in these short little videos. And hopefully they'll make some sense, and hopefully they'll add value, and you'll get something out of it. So please consider subscribing, and we will catch you in the next one. Over and out. Bye-bye.